Decide today who you will believe, God or the lies of the enemy. This is episode 3 in Love Bears All Things. Today we're going to expose the lies of the enemy that comes to steal your hope for the salvation of your whole household and family. Promises and Lies, episode 3. A promise from God for my family is found in Acts 16, verse 31. Believe in the Lord Jesus and you will be saved, you and your household. This promise in Acts is a record of the early church. It's in a story about a jailer who had been listening to Paul and Silas in prison, singing hymns and praise to God, when suddenly an earthquake made all the prison doors swing open. The jailer's reputation was on the line, and he feared for his life, as he felt that the prisoners escaping would riot. Yet God intervened in the jailer's life. The verse I quoted, however, gives a greater promise than just salvation from rioting prisoners. It was a promise of eternal salvation for the jailer and his family. But is this a promise for you and me, for our families too? A dear friend shared this verse with me as her go-to verse to declare salvation for her family. And I took it as a verse for my family too. God is in the business of reconciling our beloved family members back into his kingdom. We need to start to prepare the way for them to return. However, before we get to preparing the way, you need to prepare your own heart. This means taking these promises as your own, believing them, not allowing the enemy to steal the promise from you. I want to share some of the things I've had to learn about this. And this is in a place of challenging the thoughts and the questions in my head, which I eventually realised were from an enemy who was trying to steal my hope, steal my trust in God. And my trust in God was that he would be faithful to honour his promises. I had to recognise each of the following, which came initially as thoughts or questions, that these were actually lies. If I let my mind stay on them, they would get settled in my mind. So the first one, is this verse really a promise? The enemy came to tell me that no, this was just part of a story and that God was not giving me a promise from this verse. But God was saying otherwise. Number 2, that this might be a promise for someone else, but it isn't for me. And number 3, that this might be a promise, but it's conditional on me being a perfect parent so that my children turn out well. Now, all of these thoughts are not God thoughts. They are actually enemy lies who comes to steal, kill and destroy. I had to choose who to believe, the promises of God or the lies of the enemy. Salvation is a gift. It's just as much a gift for you and your children as it is for me. We don't earn our salvation, but the enemy is good at prodding us at some area of insecurity or some area of past history of failure and trying to suggest otherwise. But God's promises are for you and your family. They are for you, and God is for you in this season. It's not just for perfect families or ones that all just go to church together. It is a promise for you and your family for salvation. Be encouraged. God is in the business of family reconciliation. He invented families in the beginning, and if you read through the stories of the Bible, you can see that the families represented in there are very messy indeed. You can't go past the messiness of Abraham, Sarah and Hagar, or Israel, his 4 wives and 12 sons, or David, his adultery and his rebellious children. This is to let you know that God understands. Rebellion happens because of individuals. Our Heavenly Father has had his share of rebellious children. Who are you going to believe, God or the enemy? You get to choose. Choose God and his promises today.